So let's talk about tariffs. Let's talk about medication. Let's talk about China. And let's talk about Medicare and who funds Medicare, which is the American taxpayer, and why I am bringing all this stuff up. Well, we got these tariffs going on with China, and I have to say the American taxpayer is going to pay for these tariffs. And what I mean by that is most of these medications that Americans are taking are paid for by Medicare, and most of them, like something like 40% of them overall, come from China. And I got exactly some exact numbers here. And I'm gonna go by trade value and the percentage of imports. Okay, so we have cancer treatment drugs coming from China, like $266 million worth a year. It's a very small percentage of the overall import. Cardiovascular medicine, so $209 million worth coming in from China. Different types of pain relievers, non-narcotic pain relievers, fever reducers. 11% of all these non-narcotic pain relievers coming in that are being paid for by Medicaid are coming from China. Okay, antibiotics, 146 million dollars worth each year, about 5% of uh, total imports. Medication, antibiotics count for 5%, and that's coming from China. Okay, um, cardiovascular medicine. Now, this is interesting. 45% of all cardiovascular medication in the United States comes from China. So I know there's like a 500,000 people die each year from cardiovascular disease in the United States. So most of these people are older and they are on Medicare or Medicaid or something like that. The prices of these medications will be going up. Almost half of the medicine is coming from China. And you're going to see a big increase in the price because of the tariffs. And the taxpayer, the US taxpayer, will have to pay this amount. Cold and cough medicines, 11% of all cold and cough medications come from China. 12% of all laxatives, and another combination, or I should say, complex antibiotics. They got a name for it, a pharmaceutical name. Compound antibiotics, 9%. Okay. Now, we imported $7.2 billion worth of medications from China last year. Well, I'm sorry, in 2022. Okay. $7.2 billion. So add a 25% or 50%, whatever these tariffs are going to come up to be, to that number. Okay. And a lot of these medications are funded by Medicare and Medicaid, which means the US taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill for these tariffs. So you're not really hurting Chinese manufacturers so much. And of course, these manufacturers are going to take advantage of these tariffs. They're going to increase the prices themselves to make a little more money, right? They kind of hide it in there. And it's going to take years before the U.S. can medication manufacturers can catch up with this. Now, there's like a 7-year window they have to wait just to have FDA approval for some of these medicines. Now, if they take a patented medication and make a generic of it, a U.S. company, then they can. But that is not going to happen overnight. And probably what's going to happen is before the American manufacturers can catch up to replace or replenish these items, medications, whatever these tariffs are affecting, chances are within 4 years, Donald Trump's going to be out of office. Somebody new's going to come in. The tariffs are going to get lifted. So it's never manufacturing is never going to catch up. So these tariffs are going to be short term for the next 3 years. They'll probably be removed by the next president, and U.S. manufacturers will not catch up in time. And again, the U.S. taxpayer is going to be on the hook. Now, I like what Donald Trump's doing. It's very noble, but it's a long-term plan. It's going to take like 15, 20 years before U.S. manufacturers catch up to global production. And they can't do it as cheaply as some of these countries, some of these other countries. They won't be able to do it as cheaply, and it's just going to hurt us. So some quick numbers there pertaining to tariffs and how the U.S. taxpayer will be on the hook for the tariffs that are being imposed on medications because the Chinese are making a large portion of the medications being consumed here, particularly cardiovascular medications. Like I said, 45%. And really quick, some more numbers for you. From 2014 to 2022, we've seen an increase of imports, active pharmaceutical ingredients that are from China went from $500 million a year up to $1.5 billion per year. 30%, I'm looking at this chart here, 30% of our medications here in the United States are either manufactured or have ingredients in it that was manufactured in China. So you're looking at 30%, 1 in 3 medications here in the United States are going to have at least a 25% increase put on it. Again, people who are on Medicare, the U.S. taxpayers fund this. They will be on the hook for this, and the poor schmoes who have to pay cash for their medications are going to have a drastic increase in the cost. And you're even going to see this in over-the-counter medications, these pain relievers and fever reducers that you're purchasing off the shelf or made or manufactured in China. So um, a 401% increase. I'm just reading here. Chinese shipments of cardiovascular medication as well as cancer treatments are notable to watch given their importance to U.S. healthcare infrastructure because they are some of the fastest growing trade flows, increasing some 1,147 and 401% respectively since 2017. So we're already seeing a increase coming prior to these tariffs. Um, Again, something that's not really spoken about. We're talking about reducing prices for gasoline and reducing inflation for food costs, but no one is speaking about medication and how the tariffs are going to affect this directly.